To start your pet ped, grab a lighter, a clip, and a scissors. The first thing you're going to do is go ahead and do a slip knot, about 2 finger widths if, you can pick which size you want. And you're going to chain 3. The next step is going to be 6 single crochets in that first chain. So find that first hole. I usually put my finger in there if I can. You're going to put your yarn through that hole, okay? Then you're going to grab that last chain, that third one, and take that. There's going to be 2 on your finger. Now you're going to, on top of it, grab your yarn and put it through both of those loops. That makes a single crochet. Here's the tricky part, and this first step is the trickiest. I promise it gets easier. You need to go back through that first chain again. So I usually try to keep my pinky or finger there. You're going to stuff through your yarn again, just like you did for the first one. You're going to make your another single crochet for the second one. So grab your loop. Now you have 2 on your finger, and on top, you're going to go ahead and stuff it through both of those loops. Then you're going to have 2 single crochets. So now you're going to go back in that first one and put your yarn through that hole again. So I try to keep my pinky there. It seems like it's the easiest. Whatever works for you. The yarn goes on top and then through those 2 loops that you just made. This is making little single crochets. So we're going to do this 6 times. So where your pinky is, you're going to stuff through that hole. Then you're going to grab that. Now you have 2 loops again on your finger. The yarn goes on top and put it through both of those loops. And then you're going to do that 2 more times to make 6. This next row, you're going to do a single crochet in the back loops only. So if you look at the top and you see the little ribbon or the chain, you'll see those back loops. You're going to go ahead and put the yarn through the back loop, grab onto it. So now you have 2 loops on your finger, and with the yarn going on top, go ahead and put it through both of those loops. And that makes a single crochet. You're going to do this in the back loops only, working towards the left. So you'll find that next back loop, and you're going to go ahead and put the yarn through that back loop. Now you'll have 2 loops on a finger, and you're going to go ahead and put the yarn through both of those loops, and you have another single crochet. And you're going to do this all the way around the entire circle. So find that back loop. If you're looking at these little ribbon or chain straight down, it's the farthest loop away from you is considered the back loop. So you'll put it through the back loop and then put the yarn on top and put it through both of those loops that are on your finger. So you end up with 1. And these are called single crochets. And you're going to go all the way around until you find your stitch marker, which I use a hair clip. With the chunky yarn, it's easier. So you find your back loop and you're going to go all the way around. For this next row, you're going to still work in the back loop only, but this time you're going to do one single crochet in the back loop, and then you're going to do a double crochet in the next back loop, and you're going to continue that pattern all the way around. So you'll do a single crochet, back loop, go ahead and put your yarn through, and then yarn over the top and put it through both loops. That's a single crochet. The next one, find that back loop and you're going to do 2 single crochets in there to make a double. So put one through there, now you have 2 loops. You're going to yarn over the top and then you're going to put it through both loops. And let's go in that same back loop again to make a double in that loop. It's a little bit tighter, so sometimes you have to kind of push it through there, but just make sure that you find the spot to put 2 single crochets in the same loop, and that is what's considered a double crochet with the finger knitting and chunky. So you're going to do 1 single crochet in the back loop, and then you're going to do 2 single crochets in the next back loop, and you're going to go all the way around with that same pattern. So you're going to do a single crochet, put it through, yarn it over and pull through both. And now find that back loop, put 2 single crochets in that back loop. So basically you're doing an increase and you're making this bed flat but wider and bigger as you go around. So the pattern for this row is a single crochet back loop and then a double crochet in a back loop. So just basically 2 into the 1 back loop. So for this next row, you're still going to work in the back loop, but this pattern is going to be a single crochet, followed by a double crochet. So you're going to start with the single crochet in the back loop only. Then the next back loop, you're going to go ahead and put 2 in that back loop, 2 single crochets. So you're going to do 1 single crochet, yarn that over and pull through. And then the same loop to do the double crochet, you're going to put another single crochet in there. So again, the pattern for this row is single crochet in the back loop, single crochet in the back loop, and then a double crochet in a back loop. And you're going to repeat that until you reach your stitch marker all the way around. And again, sometimes your loops aren't the same size. So you're finding that back loop, like right here, is really tight. You're just gonna have to wiggle it around and be patient, but try to keep the pattern consistent so that your bed stays nice and round. And what's nice about this finger knitting is it can look messy and it still looks beautiful. At any point, you can decide when do you want to tuck in that tail that you first started with. So you can put your stitch marker in to hold your spot after you make a loop. I usually try to put it on the back loop so I can remember. And then when you flip it over, you can stretch out your little loops a little bit. But when you flip it over, that way you won't lose your spot. So I pull a little bit tight so it's that first hole stays tight. And really all you're going to do is, thread it through a few times, front and back, tie a knot, thread it through. There's really no right or wrong way. I try to keep the same pattern so things don't, look from the other side that it's crisscrossed. But, thread it through, tie a knot, thread it through, and then I will cut it off and burn it into place. What you don't want it to do is come apart if you have to wash it. Sometimes pet beds can get kind of hairy or messy and you want to put it in the washer, and it's okay. Wash it on cold, tumble dry low. That's what I do, and sometimes it just fluffs it right back up. It's really nice, but it's a good idea to wash your pet bed sometimes. But you want to make sure you don't lose an end piece. So, tying it through a bunch of them, it's going to be really hard to unravel it. And you also don't want your pet to be able to unravel it and play. So I tie it off and then I will cut it, and usually I burn it into place so it can stay down a little bit better. And if it ever comes apart, it's not a problem. You can just cut it and burn it into place again. Now you're ready to finish, and the very last pattern is going to be a single, 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 double crochet. So I often write it down so I don't forget where I'm at. But when you do that last one, which is a single, 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 double, that is what's going to make the width of your entire bed. So sometimes I do 4, sometimes I do 3. Depends on how big your animal is, but you're going to continue in the back loop only. You're going to do a single, 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 double. As big as you want, as little as you want. Maybe you have a little tiny kitten, this is it. But you'll finish this last pattern. It's going to be a single, 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 double all the way around. Okay, so you got it to the width you want. You've done your measuring. You've got a small kitten or a cat, and you've gone single, 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 double crochet. You're ready to build the walls. For this next step, you can make it as high or as low as you want, but you're going to go through both loops in every single chain. This step is so easy and fun, and it starts to build the wall naturally. So you're going to take both loops. You're going to go ahead, and now you have 3 on your finger. Put the yarn through the back side. You've got that on there. Yarn over and put it through all of those. So instead of doing the back loop only, you're doing both loops. Put the yarn through both loops, grab that loop, yarn it over, and pull it through both of those loops. This is the fun part. It just starts building a wall. You can color change. I usually color change after I do one time around. So the bottom is one color, and then I have another color for the top. I'm specifically making this for one of my friends has a calico cat where the most of the fur is pretty much white and beige. And the top of her fur are these colors that I'm using here. So it's really beautiful. And oh boy, cats love these, dogs love these. It's just the cutest little thing. They're so simple and easy to make. So again, this is going to make your wall. You're going to put it through both loops, not the back loop. Both loops, push the yarn through from the back, grab your loops. The yarn goes on top to pull that loop through. And it seems like it's not building a wall, but don't worry, it is. I usually do 4 rounds of this, and it makes a nice deep little wall. You could make 1 round and just make it a little lip, but it's just personal preference. So I want to go ahead and do a color change here. So you get to the end, snip it off to make it clean. And I like to do the burning method, so I kind of snip off both ends of the colors that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to add some white so it matches my friend's cat that I'm making this for. And if you burn, you can take off the fuzz. If you burn that center little thread, there's a little hard thing in there. If you burn that and match it up with the other one, it's pretty much going to keep it sealed. So when you're washing it, they won't come apart. And then I usually give it a little tug, make sure it's nice and tight. And then you're just going to continue. You're going to do both of your loops, pull it through, and you're going to do a single crochet where you left off. But you want to just make sure when you're making your wall, it's both loops. And I usually work again, I work moving to my left. I don't really use the stitch marker anymore because I'm going to continue it for the height of the wall. But both loops, You're going to push it through, grab onto it so you have 2 loops on your finger, and then push it through. I'm telling you, I've made so many pet beds, and my cats love it when I make them. They literally sit on there when I make them, and they just think they're getting every single bed. So they get a little bit sad when I give them away. But, you know, obviously this one I'm making is for a new kitten because my cats are about 7 years old, and they still love these. I mean, they'll sleep in anything. They just kind of stretch them out. So I'm going to make about 4 rows of the beige color here. To make a little wall for this new kitten that my friend has. And you just keep going until you want. There's really no right or wrong way or when to stop. Okay, you're ready to close it off. The best way I find to do it is you've got your last loop, you flipped it over. You can turn it inside out and go the other way if you want, but I like it this way. And you take that last piece of thread after you've done, you know, I did 4 rows, but you can do as many high as you want. And I go through the back loop only to tie this off so it lays flat, but you can stuff it in coming up from the bottom and then put it through that loop to tie a little knot, and then just thread through. Don't pull too tight so you don't rip it off, but just thread through and kind of hide it and kind of make that shelf of where you're leaving it off flatter. And then I make a knot when I'm done feeding it through. I use the burn method again to try to, you know, keep that secured down so when you're washing it doesn't come apart. But again, if it does, no big deal. Tie a knot, burn it down again. It's pretty simple.